and welcome to Generation Fitness Introduction to Pilates. This program was designed to give you an introduction to people who are looking for taking a Pilates class, whether they're going to exercise at home with a video or do it in a gym class, or if they're lucky enough to work with a qualified instructor on a private basis. This is to educate you so that you can make informed decisions about Pilates instruction. Because, as you know, Pilates has become the hot exercise to do in recent years. And many Pilates certification courses have popped up, so you can go in one weekend, take a class, and all of a sudden you're qualified to teach Pilates. Well, that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if what you're looking for is an authentic Pilates class, you want to make sure that the background of your instructor is qualified, that they actually have gone through a rigorous training program and can teach you the finer points of Pilates. Otherwise, you may be taking an exercise class, but it's not going to be a true Pilates class. Another thing is that a lot of people don't know that Pilates is actually a fairly old system. It's been around for quite a while. It was developed by Joe Pilates, who was a nurse in World War I. So he was working with wounded soldiers, and he worked on rehabilitating them. And he developed these exercises as a way to strengthen their bodies and help them recuperate. So it's actually been around for quite a while. He then moved on to New York and opened a studio. Dancers, athletes, gymnasts started to come to him because they realized the value of basically the cross-training that they were getting. Any exercise program that you do works a certain kind of muscle. Well, the Pilates program activates smaller, lesser used muscles, so you actually get the benefit of being completely toned all over. So that's what we're going to be doing here, and I have a couple of wonderful people who are here to help me out. We have Adrienne, and she's going to be helping us go through some questions that people have emailed in, and we're going to answer for you. And we also have Vanessa, and she is going to be doing some demonstration and participating in that way. So thanks you guys for being here, and thanks for tuning in. And now we're going to start with some questions. What do we got?
Okay, the first one, why is breathing so important to Pilates?
That's a great question. That's a great question to start off with. Breathing is the first fundamental that we learn in Pilates. It's important, obviously, because you need to breathe, but there are many different ways you can breathe. For example, a lot of people who do yoga, they do what's called belly breathing, which is the tummy is very soft, and as you inhale, it expands and kind of pooches out, and then you pull in on the exhale. And actually, Vanessa is a great person to demonstrate this because she does both yoga and Pilates. So actually, if you want to lie down on the mat and put your knees up and your feet are flat on the mat, and why don't you show everybody what the actual belly breathing that I'm talking about is like, so they can see the difference, and then we'll show what the other kind is. So watch her belly, like how it rises up and down on the inhale, just nice and soft. Now, if you can, start with the Pilates breathing where you keep that abdominal tone pulled in, even on the inhale. So you can see that her belly rises very little, and she's pulled in the entire time. Now, you're probably asking, like, how does that happen? Like, where does the breath go? And where does it go? Your ribs actually have the ability to expand all around. So exactly, if you place your hands on your ribs and feel the full inhale, your ribs can expand on all sides, and then pull in on the exhale. Good. So another way to do this at home, if you have one of these great stretchy bands, you can wrap this around your ribs, nice and snug, and then work against the band to expand the rib cage. Good. So breathing is really important, and it honestly takes people several classes before it even really clicks, because it's a very foreign way of breathing to a lot of people. But very good job breathing. Thank you very much. You can sit back up. So what else do we have?
Okay, some of the movements are so small. How do I know if I'm doing them correctly?
That's a good question. They're very small movements, very precise, very controlled. Pilates isn't about kind of flailing about, and it's very vigorous, but it's very controlled. Actually, Joe Pilates called it contrology, actually, when he was doing it. That was just his name for it. Yeah. But the idea of being very controlled, very precise, which actually underscores the need to work with a very qualified instructor. You want somebody, especially if you can afford to take a couple of private classes in the very beginning, it's really, really helpful, because just copying a tape, it's like, well, you're not really, so if somebody can see what you're missing and help cue you, Let's actually do an example of this, because there's an exercise that I like to do with every beginning student that kind of says, oh, that's the kind of work we're going to be doing. Okay, so Vanessa, if you could stand up and just face front here, and I want you to put your heels together and your toes are slightly open. Good, that's a perfect Pilates V. And you're zipped up from your heels, through your knees, through your thighs, up into your abs. But you're nice and relaxed and soft up top. Good, very good. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is to keep your heels together as you rise up slightly onto your toes. And rise up. Good, and come back down. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to do the same thing, but this time I want you to think about putting weight into the sides of your feet, the outsides of your feet, into your little toes. So you're going to keep your heels together and come back up and think of putting weight in the outside of your feet. And rise up. Yeah, it's a little different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where'd you feel that?
Right here.
Exactly. That's exactly, and that's where we want to feel it, right? We want to, everybody wants to work on that area. So that's not even an exercise. That's just an example of the kind of tweaking of just changing your intent can actually make a huge difference in the execution of an exercise. Great. Thank you. Good job. You can sit back down. Actually, let's do that sitting back down Pilates style. This is another thing. Everything counts in Pilates. Everything as far as transitions, how you get into a position. So in Pilates, you make your I Dream of Jeannie arms and cross one foot over the other and melt down. As you're lifting up in the abs, melt down onto the mat gracefully. And catching yourself when you have to. Good. No, perfectly graceful. Perfect. So the idea being that everything we do from the start to finish is controlled and graceful. Thank you. So that answers that question. What else do we got?
Okay, next email is, I have a bad back. Should I do Pilates?
Okay, actually that's a great question. A lot of people, today have bad backs. We sit all day long. We sit at our desks. Things can get sloppy here and crunched up back here. So this is a very common problem. A lot of people are maybe kind of leery about taking an exercise class if they have a bad back. You should always consult with your doctor before taking any exercise class. You need to know what's going on in your body and why your back is bad. For example, I have a student who has a she cracked her tailbone years ago, so there are certain exercises that we don't even attempt with her because it's actually really painful. So you want a teacher who can help you make any modifications, keep the exercise safe. But absolutely, I would actually say, I had scoliosis, I have scoliosis, and Pilates has been great for me because it's strengthened all my postural muscles, and I don't have really hardly any pain at all from my scoliosis. So I would say definitely, if you have a bad back, Pilates can actually probably help alleviate your symptoms. Because also you want to keep in mind that by having a low back problem, you want to look at what's the opposite side of the body doing, and you want to pull in and strengthen those lower abs to help support the lower spine. So that's a great question, and I'm really glad somebody asked that. So what else we got?
Okay, when I do the hundreds, my lower back starts to ache. Is this okay?
No. Absolutely not. No. That's a good question too. The hundreds is the first exercise that you do in a Pilates mat. It's a warm-up. It's pretty vigorous, but it's just your beginning basic warm-up. Let's actually show, Vanessa, if you could lie on your back, and we'll show there are many different ways of doing the hundreds as far as your leg placement. Let's get you into position just for the beginning, which is exactly this. Your knees are bent, your feet are flat on the mat, your arms are reaching long. As they reach long, you're going to pull your abs in and reach your head and shoulder blades up off the mat, and you're going to inhale and pump your arms, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep going and pull time, not letting yourself sink down. Good, and you can relax back down. Good. So you could see her abs were pulled in the entire time. Now I want you to tabletop your legs, put them into 90-degree angles, pinch the knees together, and curl up again. And begin to pump. Good. Keep those knees together. Good. Now straighten your legs. Keep going. Now drop the legs to a 45-degree angle. Keep going. That's okay. Keep going. Tell me what's happening here.
My lower back.
Your lower back's coming up. Exactly. that could be what's happening for this person who wrote in. You can go ahead and relax. This person may be doing these exercises in the advanced format, when actually what they need to do is do the early, keep your feet down on the mat and work their way up. Yeah, exactly. So no, your lower back shouldn't hurt at all when you're not activating that. You're working your abs. Okay. So you want to keep it in there. So don't start working with your legs until that's very, very advanced. I mean, you could feel when you start to lower the legs that lower back's going to pop up and activate. So good job, thanks.
So what do hundreds do exactly?
Okay.
What is their purpose?
Yeah, hundreds, you're talking about 100 pumps of the arm.
Okay.
You're inhaling and exhale. So you've got 10 breaths, 100 pumps. And pumping the arms challenges the stability of the torso. So you're staying lifted. You're basically fatiguing your abs.
Okay.
You're worn out. You're like, okay, that was the workout. No, that was just the warm-up. The hundreds, it's just basically activates, gets the circulation, gets the blood pumping, warms your heart, and just kind of gets you primed, and you're saying hello to all your abs all at once, basically. Okay. So that's what it does. What else do people want to know?
Okay. Is it okay to use a yoga mat for a workout?
It can be. It depends on the surface that you're working on. In the studio here, we're on a hard floor, so we have a Pilates mat, which is actually twice the thickness of a yoga mat. And Pilates mats come actually a lot thicker even. I don't know, I've seen them like an inch thick. They're also a lot longer so that you can do these exercises fully protected. Even if you're 6 feet tall, you're stretched out on the mat, you're not going to kind of be on the hard floor. If you only have a yoga mat, you can perfectly do these exercises if you're on carpet. But if you're on a hardwood floor or a cement floor and you're on a yoga mat, you're risking injuring your spine because you're going to be doing rolling exercises back onto your spine, and you really need that cushioning. So, I don't know, maybe you could fold up a towel, have some extra cushioning with the yoga mat, or find some small carpet that'll work. But I would just go ahead and buy a Pilates mat. They're not that expensive, and they are important. So, what else?
Okay, 8th email. Pilates seems weird. How relevant are these exercises to the real world?
Okay, yeah, Pilates is weird. It's totally weird. First time you do it, you feel like, what is this, and how is this at all useful? Actually, let's do rolling like a ball, because that's my favorite exercise to teach a beginner. It's the one where everything just flops around and goes crazy. Let's have Vanessa, if you would, scoot up to the front edge of your mat. I just want to make sure you're not going to, you won't roll off backwards off the mat. And exactly, tucking your ankles in, wrapping your arms around, curving your head down slightly, and curving your spine as much as you can, pulling in those abs, and let me see you do a beautiful rolling like a ball. Come back and balance. And up, scooping the abs in, and balance. Good. See how she doesn't put her feet down? Now, do a sloppy. Just do like the first time you ever did rolling like a ball. What did it look like? Show us. And then you try with your legs and you yank yourself up. Exactly. So Vanessa is so graceful. She makes it look a lot easier than it is. First time everybody does rolling like a ball, they're stuck down there. They don't know how to get back up. They start using their legs and using their arms and yanking themselves up. You got to do what you got to do to get back up the first time. But what you're eventually doing is you're using your transverse abdominis. So let's see you do another one in good form. And watch how she stays in this perfect form. Her legs stay tucked in as she rolls back and scoops back up and balances. Good. Sorry, that yoga block was in the way a little bit back there. Good. So that's what we're doing, is we're learning how to come back up using our abs instead of our legs or momentum. So thank you. Very good.